Rasputin was a mystical aide to the last emperor of Russia, and he was almost immortal. He had an intense stare, and many called him the devil. But why did a Russian prince try to kill him? From tales of debauchery to drinking and weird occult stuff, this is the truth about the mad monk who just wouldn't die. Let's start from the beginning. Before he was known as Rasputin, which is Russian for debauched one, he was just Grigori Yefimovich Novik, born in 1869 in a small Siberian village of Pokrovsky to a family of peasants near the Tura River. Now, before Rasputin came along, his mom already had 7 other kids, but sadly, some didn't make it past infancy or childhood. The surviving siblings, Dmitri, Maria, and Varvara, were around, and there might have been a 9th one named Feodia. His dad, Yefim, had a double life as a peasant farmer and a diplomatic courier, shuttling people and goods between his small town of Kabusk and the larger nearby city of Tumen. Rasputin wasn't your typical child. His village folks saw him as a bit of an oddball. They thought he had this mysterious gift for visions and healing. There's a story about young Rasputin being sick in bed, and a crew of peasants rolled in, curious if he could sniff out a horse thief among them. Believe it or not, he pointed right at the guilty one, who got caught later with a stolen horse. The whole village was amazed, but there lingered a suspicion that maybe Rasputin had a touch of the devil in him. At 23, Rasputin gave monk life a shot at the Verkhturia monastery, but it wasn't his thing. Then he roamed through holy cities like Jerusalem and Greece, surviving on handouts. Eventually, he found Christi Flagellants, which was a sect that broke away from the Russian Orthodox Church and was a lot like a cult. What was their idea of a good time? Driving sin out with sin. So Rasputin's early days were pretty chill until he hit 28. Next thing you know, he's off becoming a self-proclaimed holy man. Now, this guy wasn't free of drama. He was constantly partying hard, getting wasted, chasing after ladies, doing weird occult stuff, and supposedly being part of that mysterious cult. But hold up, despite all the gossip, come 1906, Rasputin was popular in St. Petersburg. He even became friends with Tsar Nicholas II. Yep, by then, he went by the simple name Rasputin. And Queen Alexandra, the Tsar's wife, started seeing him as a big-shot prophet and visionary. She believed he could work miracles on her son Alexei, who had some homophilia going on. Alexandra, the Tsarina, went all in, claiming she believed God was dropping messages through Rasputin. But where there's royalty, there's always some spicy gossip. Everyone believed they were secretly having an affair. But according to a historian, that's just impossible, because as a royal lady, the Tsarina would have been very prudish. Some historians think Rasputin's calming aura worked like a charm on Alexei because, believe it or not, it managed to soothe his worried mom, creating a ripple effect of tranquility. There's also a theory idea that Rasputin keeping the boy away from doctors did him good. Why, you ask? Well, back then, those doctors weren't all dishing out aspirin, which could have messed with Alexei's blood and made things worse. In 1912, Alexei got a nasty hemorrhage in his thigh and groin after a jolting carriage ride. His mom, Tsarina Alexa, in a panic, sent a telegram to Rasputin while he was chilling in Siberia, basically begging for prayers. Rasputin asked her to relax and do nothing, and just, avoid doctors. So when Alexei survived, he got all the credit for it. Over the next decade, Rasputin's influence over the royal family and their decisions just kept on growing. Then came World War I, and Russia wasn't doing great at all. Rasputin's meddling with decisions was seriously messing up the war, and people really hated him. But the man was just unkillable. In 1914, a 33-year-old peasant named Kioniogaseva decided he was the Antichrist and a phony prophet. She stabbed him in the stomach outside his home in Pokrovsky, leaving a whopping 14-inch gash with his guts exposed and all. But Rasputin wasn't ready to check out just yet. He called a doctor and got surgery that saved his skin, literally. But it wasn't just paranoid villagers. The next attempt on his life came from nobles and politicians, led by Prince Felix Yusupov and his sidekick, Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich. They came up with a plan to get rid of him. On the night of December 29, 1916, things got seriously bizarre. Prince Felix and Grand Duke Dmitry threw Rasputin an invite to a gathering at the Moika Royal Palace. Now, what went down next is confusing, because it's a mix of gossip, tales, and urban legends. Rasputin, always wrapped in mystery, turned his death into an epic tale of almost superhuman powers. So Prince Yusupov aimed for the grand vanishing act of Rasputin, offering him tea and cakes spiked with enough cyanide for a small army. But Rasputin shrugged off the cyanide like it was nothing. So on to Plan B, Madeira wine with a cyanide twist. Still no luck. 3 glasses down, Rasputin was a bit tipsy, but standing tall. Then Prince Yusupov pulled out a revolver, shot Rasputin in the chest, and he hit the floor. Game over, right? Not quite. Prince Yusupov and the crew made a run for it. One of them decked out in Rasputin's clothes for a sneaky switch, making it look like Rasputin was heading home. But they returned, and surprise, Rasputin wasn't as dead as they thought. He sprang back to life and attacked them. Now Rasputin staggered into the palace courtyard, reportedly getting shot a couple more times. Here's where it got wild. Rumor had it, Prince Yusupov grabbed a dumbbell and went to town on Rasputin. Fast forward to the early hours of December 30th, 1916, and they hauled the guy to a nearby bridge and tossed him into the icy Malaya Neva River. Last spotted alive, Rasputin fought against the freezing water, clutching a chunk of ice as he floated downstream. 2 days later, on January 1st, 1917, they discovered his lifeless body under the ice-covered river about 650 feet downstream from the bridge. Now, you've probably heard many stories about how he finally died. Some might be a tad exaggerated or off, but the real deal comes straight from the official autopsy of Rasputin's body. 3 shots, one right in the forehead at close range. That's what sealed the deal. No traces of poison were found anywhere in his body, and the coroner figured he was likely already a goner before they tossed him into the river. Now sure, there were cuts and bruises on his body, but here's the thing, they weren't from a beatdown like the stories suggest. Nope, those occurred after he breathed his last, as his lifeless body was dumped into the river through a fishing hole carved into the icy surface. Rasputin's legacy outlasted the man himself. Tsar Nicholas II, influenced by Rasputin's advice, decides to hit the front lines, thinking the army would crumble without his genius leadership. It didn't quite work out. Nicholas proved to be pretty bad in the War Department, and Rasputin's death sealed the fate of the Romanov dynasty. That's all for the truth behind the man that just wouldn't die. Thanks for tuning in, and if you want to catch more awesome content like this, make sure to click on the next video.